Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. And I have Marc Mawhinney with me from Natural Born Coaches. And I'm really excited to have you here, Marc. We're going to talk a little bit about email marketing, which I'm excited about, but thanks for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me, Cheryl.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about you. I've worked with you before and I follow you. I'm in your group as well, but tell my audience a little bit more about you.
It's always tough to answer that in a really quick, sound bite. Well, let me see. I'm turning 43 soon, so I'll start kindergarten or grade one answer. Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, I've been in the coaching world since 2014, and my whole thing's helping coaches get more clients without paid ads. So I focus on a few things, and one of them I think we'll talk about today is daily emails. I've started doing daily emails in April of 2016, and I've yet to miss a day, knock on wood. So I'm obviously a big fan of it. It's not like I've been doing them for 2 weeks or anything. It's been many years, and I always try to get as many coaches and entrepreneurs on board with daily emails as possible.
Yeah. So that's a real struggle. I know for me, working with my clients, getting them to see the value of sending multiple emails, even in a month, let alone in a week. The kind of the golden rule that I put down is, all right, look, you got to do it at least once a week, but really 3 a week is going to be, more effective than the once a week. But then your model is daily. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Like, how did you go? I know, I remember reading, I think in one of your newsletters that, um, you were ready to give up email marketing at one point.
Yeah. I was standing on a bridge getting ready to jump off with my laptop under my arm. No. Yeah, I mean, anyone who's listening to this and thinking, oh my God, he's crazy, and they come up with all these objections, trust me, I had all those objections before I started because I thought the exact same thing. So from 2014 to April 2016, I did emails like everyone else does them, or most people. It was inconsistent. Maybe I'd email once a week or every 2 weeks, sometimes twice a week, and they were boring. They were designed to never offend anyone whatsoever, because you can't gasp, get an unsubscribe. That's horrible. So I just did it like everyone else, and I got zero results from the email. And I decided by April 2016, I was getting ready to kill it off and say, okay, I'm going to focus on what's working. I had the podcast going that started a few years before that. I had my Facebook group and other stuff. I said, I'm going to quit emailing here because it just doesn't work. And I actually spoke with someone who is a fan of daily emails, and he challenged me. He said, well, Marc, why don't you give it 30 days? And I thought, well, I have nothing to lose here because I'm going to kill off my AWeber anyways. So what the heck, I'll give it 30 days and see what happens. And then I made $1.7 million in a month. No, I'm just kidding. It didn't make millions of dollars, but what I did see happen in those 30 days, I noticed I started to get more people replying to the emails, which didn't happen much before. I started to make some sales, started to come in, and then I was on board with it. And I haven't missed a day. I think we're up close to 2,000 days now without missing it. So that
Wow.
was my thing. Again, any objections you or anyone else has, I know that I had them. I thought, oh my God, people will hate me. Everyone will unsubscribe, and it'll be horrible. And don't get me wrong, you will get unsubscribes, especially in the early days. You'll get a lot. But I called my list. I joked with you earlier. I said it's a self-purging list. It chases away people who aren't into daily emails, and they probably weren't going to invest in my products or services anyways.
All right. Yeah. So what do you write about every day? I mean, how does somebody get into that mindset to say, okay, I'm going to write an email every day. What am I going to write about?
Well, it does get easier, I'll say. So in the early days, you're going to be struggling for ideas. It might take you, God, 2 hours to write an email. Who knows? So when I started writing them, it took about probably an hour to write an email. And then through doing it so often, it's just like the gym. You're working your muscles while you're working your content creation and writing muscles. And now I can hammer out an email, get it out there in 10 to 15 minutes usually. So what do I write about? I mean, I'm constantly taking notes of things. I get ideas like, from movies, TV shows, books I'm reading, blogs, videos I stumble across. So that's part of it. I'm big on pop culture, and I'll reference those things. On my own life, I'll talk about things happening with me or my clients or coaches I know. I keep confidentiality in mind.
Right.
So I wouldn't be like, my client Joe's dealing with a hemorrhoid issue at the moment, so it really hurts for him to sit down and start going like that. So you have to, kind of use your common sense. But I will tell stories for day to day. Anytime I'm stuck, I just go to my bookshelf. I read a lot of books and I highlight, I mark them up and beat the crap out of them. I can go in there and say, hey, here's a passage that stuck with me. I get ideas from my Facebook group or something I see on social media. That's good. So sometimes someone asks a question in the Facebook group, I'll answer it in my daily email and do it that way. So you can get ideas from anywhere. After you get doing this for a while, it's not going to be an issue how to come up with their ideas, or can you come up with enough ideas? You're going to probably have too many ideas. You're going to have to trim them down.
Yeah. And how do you have like any kind of a formula, like how long are the emails or?
No, I mean, anyone looking at read my emails can tell they're a couple hundred words. But if you want to send an email that's a paragraph, go for it, or 1,000 words. I mean, you don't have to create something that's as long as War and Peace, or some big long novel. I don't do any hard teaching in my emails too. So I think that's a mistake a lot of people make, is they think, oh, I have to give them all this value and teach them just like a client and get them coming back for more. And there's actually disadvantages to that. So don't get me wrong, you want your emails to be entertaining so people will open them and read them. You want to reward them for taking the time that they're investing into reading them, but you don't want to give them what you give your clients either, because they're probably not going to treat it seriously anyways. They're not paying for it. So my emails for format, usually I will, like I said, a couple hundred words. And what I'm doing is usually telling a story or giving a lesson, something that I think people should know. And then I transition into a call to action in every single email. So some people are afraid. They think, well, I got to nurture my list and I can't try to sell anything or whatever. I think that's baloney. So I always have a call to action, whether it be, now it may not be selling something, could be directing them to a podcast episode, could be driving them into my Facebook group, telling them about a webinar, whatever. But I always have a call to action. And it's not a really heavy arm twisting thing. I'll say what I have to say, and then I'll say, oh, by the way, I go over this in greater detail in next month's issue of Secret Coach Club. Here's a link to check it out. Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. And how far in advance do you like plan out your emails?
Well, I always want to have emails in the can. You don't want to sit down that morning and have a blank screen and say, oh my God, I got to get it out in 15 minutes, because that's a lot of pressure. So in a perfect world, I'd have a month build up. Full disclosure, I'm usually closer to 1 to 2 weeks that's saved in there. Now, if something happens, let's say there's a zombie apocalypse tonight and I want to talk about it tomorrow in the email, I can unschedule tomorrow's email and slot a new one in there. So there's some flexibility. But yeah, I like to usually stay at least a week or two ahead, just so it keeps the pressure off.
Yeah. And do you keep like a notebook or something that you kind of write those down in?
Yeah, I usually have my handy dandy moleskin I carry around. So I have I have my notes in my iPhone that I'll do. I have a Word doc if I'm on the laptop that I'll put things in, or I'll open up. I use Aweber for my email platform. I'll open up and I'll type some notes in and save them as drafts. So if I'm ever stuck, I'll just go through and look at some draft ideas. That might be a sentence or two to jog my memory. The other thing you can do is you can repackage content. So what I do often, I cheat. I can go back into something that I sent out, let's say in 2015 or 2017 or something, and I can just copy and paste it. I may have to tweak it a little bit. If I have something in there that says President Trump, I got to change that to President Biden or something like that. Yeah. But I can repackage content, and that's what I'll do often. If there's something that needs repeating and something that's still relevant, then I'll sometimes use an old email.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, because some coaches get stuck on having to constantly create new content and they don't repurpose.
Yeah.
Or if they know like the concept of repurposing, they don't think they can do that in like email.
Yeah.
Well, and I think another good.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, each email I write, the reason it's important, it ends up going out to about almost 10 places. So that email goes out to my list, obviously. It goes on to my blog. There's different reasons for it, SEO and other stuff. Google likes that, but it goes on to my blog. It goes around Facebook. So it's in the Facebook group, the Coaching Jungle. It goes on my personal Facebook. It goes on my fan page. It goes on LinkedIn. It goes on Twitter. Sometimes it goes on Instagram, and it goes all over the place. So you can squeeze a lot of orange out of that, a juice out of that orange just by one email could turn into, like I said, 10 pieces of content.
Yeah. And that's what I do as well. Like all my emails are done the month before, and all my blog posts and everything. So everything gets spread out in that month. Right. So, and even my podcast, because you can repurpose your podcast. Mine does the automatic translation or whatever it is, transcription. I mean, it has to be tweaked and everything, but you can pull a lot of the content from there as well. And that can be your social media posts as well as your email or your blog post or whatever. Like you can just repurpose that stuff because people need to hear that stuff repeated, right?
Well, here's an idea for someone who absolutely hates email, hates writing, and the thought of it makes them want to throw up. If you're more of a video person, what you could do is you could do daily videos somewhere. Maybe they're Facebook Lives, let's say inside your Facebook group, then you can build your group with us too, or YouTube videos or whatever. Your email to your list could be something as simple as, hey, I did a Facebook Live in my group yesterday showing how you can easily increase your coaching fees by double without pulling the hair out of your head or stressing out. I don't know. This off the top of my head, that sucked, but I would obviously do a better job if I had some preparation. But hey, I did a video about X in my group yesterday. Here's the link to check it out. So then they have to click on that link, go into the group, and they can watch it. That's a one sentence email. You're not doing 300 words, 400 words or anything like that. And you're sticking to what you enjoy, the videos, but you're still implementing email marketing to help drive people to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you do release like a podcast or a blog post, that can be its own email with not much verbiage in it. Like, hey, check out this week's blog post or whatever.
I think the key for email is to not try to hold back. A lot of people will do corporate speak, especially people coming from corporate.
Yes.
Like boring corporate speak. A great book around this, by the way, is called Writing Without Bullshit by Josh Bernoff. And that whole book is around eliminating filler words, bullshit, and stuff. And he has an iron imperative in that book that he says he follows. And his iron imperative is treat the reader's time as more valuable than your own. So I ask myself, okay, is this going to be worth the reader's time to click on it, spend the next minute reading it? And if not, then I'm going to have to do better. James Altucher said something. He was referring, I think, to blog posts, but it applies to email too. He said he never hits publish unless he's afraid to do so, like afraid that he's going to piss some people off or whatever. So my emails got better results, and they do get better results when I take the filter off and I just let it fly. With it, and compared to before where I was holding back, and it would put people to sleep. If they want to get to sleep, don't take a sleeping pill, just open up Marc's old emails and there you go.
Yeah, that's great. How about like, promoting? I mean, big thing about a big kind of known thing with coaches is like, they don't like to ask for money. They don't like to promote themselves. And especially in email, like, do you have a ratio that you follow, or are you just pretty comfortable just putting something out there when you want it?
In terms of offers?
Yeah.
Well, people can't tell this because we're on video, but they're only hearing the audio. I don't know if you can see that, Cheryl, but behind me, I've got a portrait of a bunch of Benjamins. There's a whole, even though I'm Canadian, I think your money's much cooler than ours. I prefer it. So my whole thing is trying to get coaches comfortable with admitting that they're in business and they're wanting to make a profit. I always say you can't coach on an empty stomach. So if you're trying to do a coaching call, you got bill collectors calling and you're worried if you're going to be able to make your car payment, or if you have a roof over your head, it's going to be pretty hard to do a good job coaching. Michael Beckwith said that you can't light up the world if you can't pay your light bill. So I'm big on, anyone who looks at my emails can tell that all of them have a call to action to inviting people to take the next step. And I would say, a large percentage of those are direct offers as well. I do the podcast once a week, will be an email about the podcast, but the rest are usually something monetized. I have actually no problem doing that. Like some people gave me a hard time. I remember hearing December of 2019, I think, is when Australia had all those forest fires. Remember when it was going crazy? I heard a few people said to me, but they're all saying, I can't believe I heard a marketer selling today. How could you sell with everything going on in Australia? Then when the lockdowns hit in March, April of 2020, it was, oh, you can't sell now or whatever. Well, there's always something going on in the world. If there isn't, the media is going to make sure there's something going on. They're going to blow off something. So you'd never be able to sell if you try to abide by that. So I sell. The only email that I never had a call to action, I remember this one clearly. Are you a baseball fan? Or
Not
hello?
really,
Yeah.
but
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Canadian. I should be. I like hockey, but I'm more of a baseball fan. I wrote an email after Roy Halladay. He was a star pitcher of the Toronto Blue Jays. He's like a national icon here. Just great guy, great player. He died in a plane crash shortly after retirement off the coast of Florida. And so I wrote an email talking to some of the lessons I learned from watching a lot of games that Roy Halladay pitched in. And, I thought very highly of him. It didn't feel right to then share all the lessons from Roy Halladay and then say, oh, by the way, I'm doing a sale where you get 25% off, doing this and that. I just said, here's what I learned from him, rest in peace or whatever. So there are cases like that, that you have to use some judgment with it. But I think that's the only time I can recall in the last 5 years, 6 years of doing daily emails that I didn't have a call to action in there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Even like with the stuff that happened with in the US with Mr. Floyd and that kind of thing, we, just being able to write about it and give your own opinion. You don't have to have that call to action on that type of an email, but yeah, if you don't have call to action, and call to action can be anything, right? It can be to read something or to reply or whatever, like join my group or whatever. It doesn't always have to be a sell, but you want them to do something that's going to eventually lead to a sale.
Well, good example. I'm playing around with a new, he would hate for me to call social media platform. So Ben Settle's creating something called Social Lair. It's kind of like the anti-Facebook where you can create layers. That's our version of like a group, basically. And it's got a lot of advantages compared to big tech. But I'm going to be playing around with creating my own layer. And I'm going to have next month 5-6 days where I'll be talking about that, just inviting people in. So that's not selling a program or whatever, but it's building a community and getting people in there. So that's the thing. It's your email. You can make the choice. You can have some fun, do whatever you want. What I always recommend to people is just have some fun with it though. And don't, let's say haul the stick out of your behind. Some people are way too uptight with it. And I think you're going to do better if you relax and just let loose.
Yeah, and if you don't enjoy it, it's just going to be a stress area, and it's not going to do any good anyway. You're not going to get anything out of it if people feel like that stress or tension of you. But yeah, I like the relaxing and kind of just being yourself, because it's just another way for people to start to know you.
Yeah, well, so I kind of laugh though when I see people selling templates. They're like, hey, you'll never have to write an email again. Buy this package and you can just use the templates. And me, I never use, even if I'm doing a joint venture promotion with a partner, I'll get ideas from Swipe Copy that they send me and stuff. I never just copy and paste it because people will be able to tell, like, Mark, that's not you. I'm not the type, I hate internet marketing speak with all the exclamation points, capital letters, the stuff that people read, they feel like taking a shower after they're done. I'm just like, no, I can't say that. I just don't like it. I don't want to feel like the ShamWow guy or whatever, the infomercials with it. So just put in your own style. Like I've had people who know me in real life who also read my emails and they're like, oh my God, Mark, your emails, hey, they sound like you. I'm like, well, yeah, of course I do. What else are they going to sound like? So write like you speak.
Yeah, I like that. Because then people will be able to connect with you better because you are using your own language, right? And your own personality shines through.
Yeah, don't try to be someone else. So that's a problem in the coaching world. I see it, let's say, for example, people who don't normally swear, but then they see someone that's edgy and swearing. So they think, well, I'm going to drop a bunch of F-bombs. A perfect example is when Tony Robbins released his Netflix documentary, I'm Not Your Guru. I don't know if you remember that. I should have kept the tally. If you're doing a drinking game, take a shot every time Tony drops the F-bomb.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be on your ass. It was really weird. I don't know what he was doing with it, but hey, he's Tony Robbins, so whatever he's doing is working. But I think he dropped the F-bomb like about 500 times in that short documentary. What I noticed that was interesting in the week or two after it was released, all these coaches I know, I'm on their social media and stuff like that, were suddenly dropping the F-bomb. and they were saying things like, if you don't go for your effing dreams, you're an effing lazy piece of crap, and stuff like that. They
Oh my
normally
gosh.
wouldn't say. It was just too much. Now, on the flip side, if you usually curse like a sailor, don't go out there like you're the fairy godmother, and or a nun or whatever. For me, like, my language can get salty. I curse. I drop the F bomb away from, not on my podcast, not in emails if I'm talking to friends or
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I just my language can be salty, but it's not drop the F bomb for shock value. I know one guy, I won't say who he is in the online space. People always gush about him because he says naughty words, and stuff. He drops the F bomb. A lot of his stuff's very similar to Brian Tracy, basically identical, like with around productivity and everything. I look at it, I'm like, yeah, he's basically just parroting Brian Tracy stuff, but then he's saying some bad words, and people are giggling. Oh my God, he can't believe he said it. Guess it works for him, but he just dressed up something old in a, I guess, aggressive F-bomb manner, and then people took to it. So
Yeah. I'm not a cursor. I mean, I am, like, if I get angry, but I'm from South Philly. I don't know if you ever feel it, but around Philly, but but I don't, it's not normal speak for me. So I could never do it. If you see me doing that, there's something definitely going on.
Yeah, like, I mean, in my emails, I got in trouble. I got in trouble once. I had a subscriber messaged me back, said, Mark, I really enjoy your emails, but in the last email you said crap. So that doesn't align with me energetically. If you could clean up your language, I'd really appreciate it. Or didn't just talk about positive vibrations and all this woo-woo stuff. That's not me. And I'm like, hey, look, if you want to unsubscribe, that's cool. But, I write like I talk. I might say crap. I might say bullshit or BS or stuff like that. I don't think that's the end of the world with it. So I know it's a buzzword, or to say be authentic or just be yourself, but I do think there's something to it. Don't try to be someone else. Sometimes you can amplify it a little bit. Like they say, when you go on television, you got to turn it up 10% or whatever. You can amplify your personality and do some things like the whole alter ego effect, but don't try to be someone that you're not, because it's just going to shine through.
Yeah. So it's kind of, you can step out of your comfort zone to, like you said, just to give a little extra, but not really go crazy with it.
Yeah, my brother's funny. I have a twin brother. His team edits my podcast. They've been doing it for years. They do a great job. Matt's a little bit more conservative with his language than I am. So I remember recently he called me and he's like, hey, just give you a heads up. Oh, no, sorry, text me. Said, just give you a heads up. We edited out, you said the word boner in an episode. Now, boner's slang for a mistake, nothing else, whatever people are thinking. So I said something like, so-and-so made a big boner. And Matt said, no, he said, I just didn't think that was good. I took it out. And I said, I wish you hadn't done that. But anyways, it's fine. So
Funny. Well, awesome. So that's a lot of great info. And we're actually coming up to the end of time. That was quick. What do you have any final kind of words for our
boys? There's a lot to talk about with email. I'd just say it's going to take a leap of faith. You're going to have those objections in your mind, and you're going to be scared when you start. I'll warn anyone, when you start, I mentioned this earlier, those early days, you're going to see a higher than usual unsubscribe rate. And don't worry about it. That's natural. Because all of a sudden, people who had only been hearing from you once in a blue moon are like, oh my God, Cheryl emailed me 4 straight days. What the hell's going on? That's fine. Like, shake the tree, get those dead branches out of there or whatever. You're better with a smaller list. I would rather have a list of 1,000, let's say, for example, that is emailing daily than 10,000 that I hardly ever talk to. The other suggestion I would make is don't pay too much attention to your unsubscribes. So I don't know about what you use for your email, Cheryl. I use Aweber, and when
I do too.
the Aweber normal setting, unless you change it, is if someone unsubscribes from your list, you get an email or a notice. Cheryl Thacker has unsubscribed from your list, and then there's an option for you to put feedback in there. You wouldn't do this, Cheryl, but some people would be like, I think you're a piece of crap, Mark. Why don't you get a life? Get a real job. Or stop spamming my inbox. When you read that feedback, well, first off, even if you don't say anything, I'm going to be thinking, gee, what did I say in the last email to piss Cheryl off? Did I say something? And then I'm trying to guess, and it gets in my head. Or if I read comments like that in the feedback box, then that's going to get in. It's going to affect my mental health.
Yeah.
So what I recommend doing is turning that setting off. So you're not getting emails every time someone unsubscribes. So when I log into Aweber, there's that first dashboard. They'll say how many people joined today, how many people left, and so on. I might glance at that, and there's every day there's someone unsubscribing. So I don't get worked up if I see it, but turn off that setting that sends you an email every time, because that's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think I did that just early on because I was like, I don't need to be told this every day. Somebody's unsubscribing.
Well, it gets in your head. You could have 10,000 happy subscribers, and then you get one person who's an idiot, and all of a sudden you're going to focus on that one person and what they said, as opposed to 9,999 people who are happy. So just do yourself a favor, turn it off. And, you and I joked around about wine earlier when we were talking about the 75 hard challenge. I've actually told clients, it sounds horrible, but I've said sometimes, like, maybe you need to have a glass or two of wine. Now, don't drink a bottle or two and then send drunk emails. You're going to get into, who was it, Roseanne Barr with Ambien or whatever, when she's tweeting.
Yeah.
Like, that could get messy. But I say it jokingly, but I think there's something to it, that sometimes people have to loosen up. They're so tight. Like, hey, have a glass of wine, have some fun with it,
Yeah, awesome. All
now
right.
there'll be a bunch of people become alcoholic email marketers just because I said that.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get some comments.
There we go. Yeah. So this episode has been sponsored by whichever wine company or
Yeah.
brewery.
Mischievous. I like Mischievous wine, that brand. Anyway. So tell us, how can people get a hold of you if they would like to learn more?
Yeah, I mean, you can head to naturalborncoaches.com. I've got some resources on there. You can opt into my list. People can probably guess they're going to get emails every day from me if they do that. Or the Coaching Jungle, that's a Facebook group. That's it. So it's naturalborncoaches.com for my website, or thecoachingjungle.com for the Facebook group.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mark. It was a good time and lots of great info. And I'll be talking to you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys, for listening in, and we'll see you on the next episode. Leave some comments. If you have any questions, let us know. Thanks.